Brock Boeser signs an extension. So again, the whole running out of time thing, I did not expect a Brock Boeser extension to be done before that July 1st window where they had to file for club elected arbitration. Just like out of pure Stockholm syndrome, like it would just like under the last regime, there would have 900 billion% been heading to club elected arbitration because there's no way they would have been able to source out a deal properly. But this group did it. Emily Castonguay, pat yourself on the back because making Brock go long with a 3-year deal so that the AAV could be brought down below 7 million. That is a tidy bit of business for
Yes.
Broccoli. He's obviously an incredible producer. Had a down year amidst like a ton of
Just an
difficulty in his
awful.
personal life. Like
Yeah.
clearly going through a lot. So the fact that, he's willing to take that, cut in pay, and I'm using air quotes because it's a cut from 7.5 million to 6.65 million over 3 years, like is not bad at all. And I like this for him because he strikes me as the type that's going to be like, oh, well, for the next 3 years, I'm going to show them why I'm worth 7.5 or more. Like that just like strikes me as the type that he is. And so
Yes.
this is one of those contracts where, the last regime, which we refer to a lot on this podcast, was terrible at, which was paying guys for value so that the contract was a surplus value instead of just being like a negative asset. Like Tanner Pearson, he's a really good player, solid two-way player, but the rate that they're paying for him makes it kind of just like a net neutral. Like he is what he's paid for, but if you were able to shave that contract down to be like a $2 million deal or whatever, then you're talking serious surplus value. Now he's just okay. So this Bresser deal, damn good value. As a surplus, you love to see it, especially when it kicks off like the draft week. It kicks off free agency. Like it basically sets the tone for what to expect from this management group that is obviously looking to build some rapport with the fan base that has very little faith in the organization.
Yeah, not even just the fans, but also the players themselves who have talked about before how they kind of felt they've gotten left in the dark on a few too many times in the past on what's been on the goings on of the team and everything. And like I'm just thinking back to again the start of last season when you and I did like 5 or 6 episodes of the show in September before the Pedersen and Hughes contracts finally got done in like the last couple of games of the preseason.
Yeah.
And we kind of wrote that off as like not a victory per se, but as like well, you know what? They didn't miss any games. Good, fine, whatever kind of deal.
Yeah.
But you know how much better it is that they got Brock Boeser's contract done now, and we're not going to spend the next 2 months worrying about whether or not they're going to lose him for nothing. Like some team might offer sheet him for a way better price or like
an unmatchable amount.
Yeah, an unmatchable amount or something like that. Or just that he might even just get dealt entirely because they don't feel like paying the price for him.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of thing that I was like so worried about going into this. I honestly didn't factor in any way that there was going to get a deal was going to get done before the free agency, let alone the draft. So the fact that they got this done and it is below that very particular like that qualifying price is incredible. Like that's an incredible start to your off season and one of your biggest like headaches going into the summer, into the off season, already dealt with and taken care of within a week of getting there. And like, yeah, like it brings more certainty and stability to the team. Mm-hmm. And like you've said, and like you and I have both said on this show before, like the Canucks, or any NHL team for that matter, if you're running your team properly, guys will be willing to take a pay cut to play for you. Like if you're like, they're not going to do it just because you ask them really nicely. You have to give them quantifiable, legitimate reason to want to come in and play for your organization for less money than they could make elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So if you're doing so, that this is the kind of case where you can really see that kind of working in their favor, working out for them here, right? Where you've got a guy who 100% we know for a guarantee could have gotten at least a little bit more on that contract just by taking the qualifying offer, right? Like
Yeah.
he 100% could have
He
gotten
could have
more
just taken
money.
the 1 year and been like, you know what, I want to maximize my value moving forward. But he didn't do
Yep.
that. He wanted to stay in Vancouver because he trusts the process. He likes it in the town. He likes his teammates. Like, you'll love to see it, which is
Yeah.
good because also, like, on that note, just like considering where the team was at last offseason, where, you know, Nate Schmidt wanted out, Braden Holtby wanted out, like so much like so that Nate Schmidt waived to go to Winnipeg. Like, that's just how bad a place it was to be playing in Vancouver. So to have, you know, a player being like, yeah, I'll take a shave on my AAV if it means I get to still be in Vancouver. Like, that's a good sign. It's a
That's a
little
great
victory.
That's a great sign. It's a great sign, especially for a management team coming in brand new, having all of this kind of not I don't like this different like messes to kind of juggle and figure out. Like, and that includes just the regular. I'm not even talking about say just like what the last regime left them. I'm talking about just the general everything that else that comes with running an NHL franchise properly and running a winning team.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah, if like the fact that they've got Boeser locked in here, ready to go for next season, all of a sudden your wing situation looks really, really like really, really good going into the year. Like, even if say they aren't able to, you know, there's some guys we'll talk about that like they might be on the move before then, just to kind of open up more cap space for other
Mm-hmm.
guys to come in. But like, let's say they just go in with the group that they've got now, like save for like a couple like minor changes here and there. Like all of a sudden you're looking at a group that's like, okay, you got Boeser still, you've got Kuzmenko coming in, you've still got Pearson, you've got Miller, you've got all of these other guys. Like you've got a decent looking, your wing situation looks really, really good for what you have. And yeah, now you have a little bit of extra cap space to work with because you managed to like get that contract done in under the amount you were anticipating coming in at. So that's a good start.
Yeah, it's definitely like a positive to be getting a deal like this out of the way first, because how much did we chastise the organization for, you know, acquiring Oliver Ekman-Larsson and signing Connor Garland before they had Hughes and Pedersen signed?
God, yes.
Like the timing wasn't good because that left the team with even less negotiating power for two of the most important contracts they needed to sign.
Yep.
And I've talked about it all season. Like that Elias Pettersson bridge is just going to age terribly. Like if they had just not traded
I
Oliver
mean,
Ekman-Larsson at the time, or for Ekman-Larsson or Garland, that left them with, you know, $20 million to sign two kids to long-term deals, and probably would have been a lot cheaper than what, you know, one of them's going to be in a couple of years if he keeps playing at his current pace. He's going
yeah.
to be like a $13 million player when they could have had him for 9 years at, you know, 10 or whatever it
Yeah.
is, which would have been a bargain by the time the deal was done. So
God, yeah. Like I was thinking today, like I was looking at some of I've been looking at some of just the old numbers today, like going through cap friendly on certain things. Like the Luongo cap recapture is finally coming off the books now. Like it's officially out of the way.
it,
And
it was just replaced with
it'll
Braden
be
Holtby's buyout and
uh
Halak's bonus overage, which
Whoopsie. Which again, neither of which are this management group's fault. That's not anything they
no, it's
could
not.
do.
Yeah, it's not theirs.
But
It's still the last, but it's just kind of
but just
funny. Like,
but then you just go and look at like, by the way, why did they give this penalty again? And then you realize the contract he signed at the
it was
time was like
legal.
8 years. Well, yeah, totally legal for starters, which it pisses me off to no end. But also, it's only for like $5.5 million a year. Like that was the
Yeah, it
cap
was like
hit.
such a
It's like
bargain.
Jesus Christ, you had a Hall of Fame goaltender on your roster locked in for I think what would have been had he finished the entire contract 12 years at $5.5 million. Like just insanity that they
It's a
could
pretty
like
good deal, I guess.
yeah, just insanity. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, oh man, like if you could have that opportunity again, you'd take it in a heartbeat, right? With any
Hmm.
guy. And yeah, like and the thing that also kind of gets glossed over that when it comes to like not signing the guy right away with Pedersen and Hughes last year is also like because you don't know what number that final number is going to be for sure, you have to leave that money available regardless of what you need to get done in the offseason, right? So
Hmm.
even if Besser didn't get signed now, they'd have to go into the offseason preparing to have at least
At
$8
least seven
million
and a half
dollars.
million. Yeah.
Yeah, waiting, and they can't use just in
Yeah.
case, and which would have been a huge issue for getting any sort of contract done, because now that you have that money already guaranteed, squared away, you have a lot more money of like, okay, now we know exactly what we have left in the pot to play with here before when we get into the free agency and what we try and do there.